Alright tech family, I'm filming in a blizzard, so apologies here as you are either going to hear some wind noise in the background or I'll add a denoiser in post, which may make me sound a little bit like I'm down a well, but I wanted to get this video out. And I'm going to be honest, I was really uninspired to review this laptop, but I was just itching to do a review. And to my surprise, at the sub $650 price point, it turns out that this laptop is the one I would personally buy if I was shopping in the budget range. Now, that doesn't mean all of you should run out and buy it, and I will go into detail about who should and who shouldn't later in the video. The model I have here is the upgraded version with the Intel i7-1165G7 processor with a dedicated NVIDIA MX450 graphics, the upgraded 400 nit Full HD screen, 16GB of RAM and a 1TB SSD. By the way, in case you're new here, I'm Josh and I buy and review a ton of laptops and talk tech from the perspective of what it's like to own and use these devices. If at the end of this video you liked what you watched, make sure to smash that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up and the notification bell. It shows your appreciation for the insane amount of work that goes into making these. I've had this laptop for months. In fact, it was the first Intel 11th Gen Tiger Lake laptop I got in, and when I got it, I was super excited to test what I hoped would be the processor to turn Intel's fate around. Plus, paired with NVIDIA's MX450 graphics, I thought we would have a really powerful and capable all-round budget laptop on our hands. So, the moment I got it in, I excitedly opened it and started testing. To my disappointment, I discovered that the 16GB of RAM was in single channel mode, meaning that reduced memory bandwidth will significantly limit the laptop's performance. I opened up the back just in case there was an empty RAM slot that I could add a second stick to, but there wasn't. I was tempted to create a video titled How to Screw Up an Otherwise Excellent Laptop, but I reached out to HP who informed me that only the model with the dedicated NVIDIA graphics had this issue. Anyway, I was turned off, and since several more interesting laptops arrived, including Apple's M1 MacBooks and HP's own Spectre 14, I ended up shelving the laptop. But before you stop watching this video and give up on the laptop prematurely like I did, hang in there, as I'm going to explain why this laptop ended up becoming the laptop, as I mentioned, that I would personally buy for under $650. Even though this laptop is gimped with only single channel RAM, it did perform very well in certain performance tests such as Geekbench and Cinebench, which likely aren't that dependent on memory bandwidth. And I can see why. When you look at the processor usage, the i7 in my unit hit an impressive 4.7 GHz, drawing 36 watts of power. After the CPU hit 97 degrees Celsius, the laptop reduced its power draw, eventually running at 2.9 GHz all cores, drawing 22 watts. Unfortunately, for other tests such as PC Mark, things didn't look as good. I did check the SSD speeds in case the low scores were to do with that, and the SSD was quite fast, so I believe this was probably due to the single channel memory holding the laptop back. And even though the MX450 graphics did give the laptop a substantial boost, which you can see here in my TimeSpy scores, due to the RAM issue, the dedicated graphics just didn't offer as much benefit as I would have hoped, which you can see here in my poor Premiere Pro export test, where this laptop performed worse than my Asus ZenBook 14 with a slower MX350 graphics and AMD's Ryzen processor. By the way, the reason that I called out that the Asus ZenBook has the Ryzen processor is that Premiere Pro still doesn't perform that well with Ryzen processors, so the fact that the Asus ZenBook beat this laptop, I really feel it's a RAM issue. And since the MX450 graphics isn't really enough to bump this laptop into a gaming laptop zone, i.e. you can play AAA titles on it, I'd strongly recommend you avoid the model with the dedicated graphics and only buy the configurations with the RAM in dual channel. When it comes to picking between the i5 and the i7 version, I personally don't think the additional cost of the i7 version is worth it for a budget laptop like this one. Yes, this laptop actually can take advantage of the i7's higher boost performance in extremely short bursts. But I really feel it's negligible because, as I mentioned earlier, the processor quickly drops below the 3.8 GHz all-core max of the i5 when you run it for more than a couple of seconds. So it's probably going to be a small performance increase for most people, and as I said, it's a pricey upgrade for a budget laptop. In terms of thermals, when under max load for a duration of time, you can see there is a noticeable gap in scores for a long run. And it was one of the warmer feeling laptops under load, both the keyboard deck and the underside of the laptop. Fan noise under load was around the middle of the pack, so very audible but not as loud as Lenovo's IdeaPads. However, when running lightweight tasks like browsing the web, this laptop remained very comfortable and cool to the touch. Actually, occasionally on the right side palm rest, I did feel a bit of warmth, which was noticeable but not uncomfortable. The laptop's fans in casual use did come on occasionally, and although the fan noise wasn't overly loud, unfortunately it was high-pitched, so it was noticeable and a little disturbing. Overall though, This laptop felt much more comfortable to use than other thinner and lighter laptops that have the same Intel CPU. And even though it seems like this one is a bit on the heavy side, I personally found it very comfortable to use on my lap and to carry around. In fact, I personally prefer the trade-off of a slightly thicker laptop for better cooling and more comfortable use. Before we leave performance, Wi-Fi speeds were good, but audio latency wasn't great. You know what? I'm going to do the rest of the review a bit differently. I'm just going to cut to the chase and straight up tell you why I think you should buy this laptop, what annoying stuff you should be aware of before you buy the laptop, and how it stacks up against its budget competitors. So here it is. For lightweight and casual use, the Pavilion 14, as I said, is the laptop I would buy in the budget price range. It's solidly built. It really feels quality, even if it looks dated with its large bezels and chin. I like that you can upgrade the display to a bright 400 nit color accurate one. In fact, I'd recommend you do that as it's a pretty cheap upgrade. Also, I always recommend a minimum screen size of 14 inches for laptops with a 16:9 aspect ratio display. I just feel a 13.3 inch one like the one in the Yoga 6 is too small to get a lot of work done and use as your primary device. This laptop has a roomy 14 inch screen and it has no noticeable backlight bleed, dead pixels or PWM flickering used to lower the brightness. The trackpad in the Pavilion is very good, the fingerprint reader works well, the keyboard is quite decent with a satisfying click, although it does feel shallow. The laptop has USB-C charging, plenty of the ports you'll actually need. The USB-C is the faster 10 gigabit, the A's are the slower 5. The sound is good enough, even though the speakers are downward facing and get a little muffled if you use it on a blanket. That being said, I did use it like that and still found the sound to be loud and clear enough. The performance will be totally fine for casual users, students, and even some lightweight programming, but please get the model with dual channel RAM. And the laptop remains comfortably cool to the touch for tasks like browsing the web, Office, etc. I had been avoiding taking the back off laptops where screws are hidden below the rubber feet, but to my amazement, it was actually pretty easy to pull off the rubber feet and reattach them as they were before. I'm glad I did though, because I discovered that the RAM and SSD are both upgradable. Yay! And battery life is okay. Under real world browsing the web, writing this script, I got around 6 hours. That was with the screen brightness set near the max. I could probably hit close to 7 if I turned it down a bit. Unfortunately, this laptop has a small 43 watt-hour battery. Lastly, the price of this laptop is phenomenal at under $650 US with the spec I recommended, i5, 8GB of RAM in dual channel mode, and the upgraded 400 nit display. Now, before you go out and buy one, here is the crap you'll have to live with if you do. Number 1, the keyboard characters are very hard to make out on the silver model. There is a severe lack of contrast between the color of the key characters and the keys themselves, both with and without the backlight on. This is super annoying. Number 2, the white balance on the display is ludicrously off. When I display white on the laptop and compare it to other ones, it just is way off. It was so off that my camera, which automatically sets the white balance when it starts filming, thought the Pavilion screen was correct, and you can see how everything else has now a red tint to it. This is because it expects the Pavilion screen to be white, which it just isn't. That being said, you probably won't notice this as much in everyday use. I didn't. Number 3, the laptop will not drive a 4K 60Hz external display via DisplayPort over USB-C cable without changing a BIOS setting. Please note, it was able to natively drive a 4K 60Hz external monitor using HDMI. Number 4, as mentioned, the fans when they do come on during lightweight tasks are high-pitched, but luckily they don't come on a ton. Number 5, all the charging capable ports are on the right side of the laptop. For heaven's sake, manufacturers, if you have 2 charging capable ports, please place one on either side so I don't have to run a cable around the back. If my outlet is on the other side, it gets in the way. 6, the webcam sucks, even in excellent lighting conditions. Number 7, this laptop miserably failed my Linux test. I literally could not boot Ubuntu. It crashed numerous times at various stages, and when I finally got the installer going, the trackpad wasn't recognized. Look, I didn't spend a ton of time on this test, but other laptops ran Linux much better by default than this one. Now here's where it stacks up with its budget competitors. If you do want a better performing laptop in multi-core, the IdeaPad 5, 14 and 15 with AMD continue to be the winners. Their multi-core performance can't be matched. Unfortunately, you will be sacrificing the bright, color-accurate display option of the Pavilion for one of them. And those laptops fans are definitely louder for casual tasks. The Asus ZenBook 14 is also a better option if you plan to do video editing. It outperforms this laptop as it provides dedicated graphics with dual channel RAM. Plus, it also has a good screen. Unfortunately though, that laptop has other issues like the lack of USB-C charging and the key characters on the keyboard are hard to make out, just like on this laptop. The Yoga 6 is a more premium looking and feeling laptop. It also folds into a tablet, but you'll be sacrificing screen real estate as it's only a 13.3-inch display. I personally am not a big fan of some of the other budget laptops like the Asus Swift 3 and Lenovo's Flex 5, as their screens aren't as bright as any of the other ones I've mentioned. Oh, and obviously, if you can somehow afford the MacBook Air with the M1 chip, you should be buying that over any laptop I've talked about in this review. Anyway, I'm done here. As mentioned numerous times, for casual users, this is my personal favorite budget laptop. It's not perfect, but I think it's a very good option for students, office workers, and some lightweight programming. As always, if you like this video, you know what to do. Smash that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and the notification bell. I would certainly appreciate it. Also, I'll post links to my Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok below for plenty of behind the scenes action. And if you have specific questions about laptops, make sure to join our Discord server where plenty of experts are standing by to help. Till next time, go do something awesome with your day, and I'll catch you later.